£1 billion of lottery money has been awarded to projects in Wales today by the National Heritage Fund. Among those benefiting are several Church in Wales projects. But the handouts are causing a rift in the church. Some leaders, including the Archbishop of Wales, are still uncomfortable about accepting gambling money, while others feel they have little option.
When is a church bell not part of a church? The answer, when it's up for lottery funding. At least that's the line of thought the church is being pushed into as parishes like this at Cwmdu near Crickhowell turn to the National Lottery to raise cash.
And then we began to realise that we were raising hundreds of pounds and not thousands of pounds, and we were never going to reach our target. So when the lottery fund was announced, we thought that this was going to be our answer, and indeed it has been.
While the church can't condone gambling, the National Lottery has provided more than £500,000 for church projects. And it's not just the hard-pressed smaller parishes which are looking to the lottery. Among the biggest winners are St Asaph Cathedral, which got £115,000 to restore its organ, Brecon Cathedral, which got £100,000 for a heritage centre, and today Llandaff Cathedral, which gets £70,000 to restore a tower.
As this is part of our national heritage, we didn't see any difficulty in asking for assistance with this particular project. I don't think we go to the National Lottery for help with our day-to-day running expenses.
With buildings costing millions to maintain and falling congregations to pay for them, the church is in a difficult position. As a guardian of morality, its first duty is to people, not buildings. But here at Wenplug in Gwent, they've seen the downside of that argument. For years, Sunday worship meant services in the village hall. But thanks to fundraising and lottery grants, the congregation is now back in the church. The church in Wales had closed the building down and was preparing to sell the land for housing. But for local people, going to church meant going to St Bridget's.
It's a very old building, which is obviously without the lottery money would have been a terrific burden on the parish. With the lottery money, hopefully now we can restore it and it'll last again for another 100 years.
It would be nice if we had clearer guidance on the subject. It would take it out of our own hands and prevent perhaps some of the problems that are occurring in the minds of some people.
The worries over the lottery go right to the top. The Archbishop of Wales has long expressed his concern, though he declined to comment further. But here, at least, when the bells ring again, the congregation will be giving thanks to the National Lottery.
Coming up in the rest of the programme, training the cream of Wales's sporting talent as a sponsorship scheme aims for the top. And the seal of approval for one of Cardiff's most colourful characters with National Lottery money to commemorate Billy. First, as Wales becomes accustomed to its new system of local government, there's been a warning that the new unitary authorities may be in danger of failing to attract new jobs and investment. Tony Roberts, who until last week was Chief Executive of Cynon Valley Council, says the upheaval caused by the changes could mean Wales slipping behind in the battle to create jobs.
Celebrations in Merthyr recently at the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Korean-backed forklift truck plant. The valleys have done well for new investment lately, and MPs and government officials are usually on hand to bask in the limelight. Often, though, it's the local councils who've been the unsung heroes when it comes to persuading new companies to set up in their areas. Now, though, there are those who warn that with all the upheaval in local government, the new councils may simply not be equipped for the task.
What I'm worried about and concerned about is that because of the difficulties of reorganisation, some authorities will take their eye off the economic role, off the economic ball, and I think that would be a pity if they did that.
In southeast Wales, too, there have been plenty of big new industrial projects. Now, though, what used to be Gwent is facing a fresh economic challenge. The west of England has finally taken a leaf out of Wales's book and set up its own highly competitive enterprise agencies.
Their theory is, their planning is, we're pretty sure that they want to divide and rule. They're quite happy to see us all break up and try to do our own little thing because they're doing the opposite.
But in the southwest, they've pioneered a project that could be the model for the rest of Wales. Mike Burke is visiting Selic Duval, a high-tech manufacturing company that recently brought 40 new jobs to Llanelli. He runs the Swansea Bay Partnership, an alliance of the old local districts that was set up 7 years ago and now claims to have attracted more than 1,000 jobs. The partnership has been successful enough to be adopted by the 3 new councils surrounding the bay: Swansea, Neath and Port Talbot and Carmarthenshire.
We can offer a one-stop shop to an Indian investor. He's only got one person to talk to, one telephone number, and that's the most important thing for anyone who's thinking of setting up a company.
They've helped us to get in touch with the correct people because we don't know who to contact here, how to find the right people really.
The Swansea Bay Partnership is an example of how the smaller new authorities can band together to protect their economic interests. It remains to be seen whether this model will be followed elsewhere in Wales. If not, there's a clear risk that some areas will see the chance of new jobs and investment simply slip through their fingers. Miles Fletcher, BBC Wales Today at Select Val in Llanelli.
But the reorganisation is causing financial problems for many of the organisations that rely on local authority funding. The latest victim is a unique residential educational centre near Bridgend, used by thousands of Mid Glamorgan school children. The new, smaller unitary authorities in the area say they can't afford to give it the same level of support.
The residential centre at Ogmore by Sea was established nearly 50 years ago to help school children from the valleys learn away from home. For some, it was the first time they'd seen the seaside. Many had never been away before.
As a teenager, I visited Ogmore, and I come back now as a tutor, and it's something I would wish for every child to experience at this age. It just is incomparable. It's parts of growing up that you can't facilitate within the normal classroom.
The centre has offered around 100 courses a year in languages, music, sport and the arts. Now 4 new authorities, Bridgend, Caerphilly, Merthyr and Rhondda and Taff, have to pick up the bills, and Ogmore is facing a funding crisis.
The main issue is related to the budget settlement which Bridgend County Borough Council